It is next man up mentality for the Orlando Magic in the trade market, just as it has been for the Orlando Magic's roster during this season with all of the injuries. De'Aaron Fox goes to the San Antonio Spurs. Zach Lavine goes to the Sacramento Kings. Neither of those players will be on the Orlando Magic, and they are going to have to look elsewhere for a spark this trade deadline. There are reports coming out that this team has been in preliminary discussions with the Chicago Bulls for Coby White. That's a player that we have not talked about, as of late at least, about the Orlando Magic potentially acquiring. So we're going to get into that today, what exactly Coby White provides for this team. We're going to be talking about some potential trade packages. And, God, can the Orlando Magic front office get aggressive? They play the Golden State Warriors tonight, so we'll see if the Orlando Magic drop to 24-27 or move to 25-26. Also talk about the injury report for that game, which is going to be played in about an hour and 15 from now at the time of this video recording. All right, let's get into the trade rumors right now. Sources: the Chicago Bulls and Orlando Magic have held preliminary discussions regarding a potential trade involving Coby White. Chicago is reportedly seeking draft capital as they embark on their long-awaited rebuild. I think a lot of Chicago Bulls fans, if you have stumbled upon this video, can confirm that the rebuild is on the horizon. It looks like it could potentially be a fire sale there in Chicago. They obviously just traded Zach Lavine yesterday and are looking at the next step in their organization. Now, trade packages, as far as those go, can look potentially pretty interesting, as far as maybe it includes Nikola Vučević. Also, is Coby White actually on the block? Because he's one of the better guards on that team. He's obviously younger, and he fits the Orlando Magic's timeline pretty well, so something that we would really like. Sometimes you're thinking, yes, we'll take him, but is he actually on the block? Well, it looks like that there is kind of a want to get some draft capital, and the Orlando Magic could potentially have some sweet draft picks that this team might want. I mean, shoot, especially this year, some things don't work out for even teams that we think are going to be good. And right now, the Orlando Magic's draft pick will probably land any other team if they trade it into the middle of the pack. But I wanted to get into some trades that have been talked about. First one comes from Orlando Magic Daily. This was all the way back in November. They were floating the idea of a potential trade with the Chicago Bulls because they knew if this season kind of tanked for them, or if they were in that 10th seed purgatory that they've always been in, it seems like, for the last handful of years, that they would end up making a deal. The first one included Zach Lavine, so we're scrapping that one. Not Zach Lavine, obviously, but the second trade proposed between the Magic and the Bulls is more interesting. The Magic, it would get the Magic Torrey Craig and Coby White while sending Cole Anthony, Jett Howard, and 2 first-round picks to Chicago. Now, I'm curious from Bulls fans if they would do that deal, and if that would be enough for them to trade it. I think those 2 first-round picks are really interesting because obviously those picks could potentially be 25-27 or 26-28. But even then, that's getting into a dangerous territory because you obviously don't know what exactly these teams are going to look like. Or it could be this year and 26. Who knows? Can't do it back-to-back years, but those could be some interesting picks. Do they want Jett Howard now? This was at the beginning of the year. I mean, Jett Howard has certainly shown more than he did last year, but would they really want him? Also, Cole Anthony, is that even somebody that they really want to invest in? I don't know. I mean, they're obviously trying to tank probably pretty soon after this year, if not this year. So will they want a player who actually contributes to winning? I mean, Cole Anthony does contribute to winning for the Orlando Magic. So is that somebody that they want? Maybe they do. I mean, it certainly helps with the cap situation too. So you can end up taking Cole Anthony, but I mean, is that something that the Orlando Magic want to give up? Do they want to give up Cole Anthony? I think in a lot of these trades he's thrown in there, is that something that they want to do? Obviously, you can't trade Wendell Carter Jr., but maybe that's something that the teams end up deciding to do. Let's take a look at Coby White and what he has done this year for the Bulls. Last year, he averaged 19.1 points per game, 4.5 boards, 5 assists, and he shot 37.6% on 7 3-point attempts per game. His production looks very similar this year. As you can see, 18 points per game, 3.5 boards, 4.5 assists. Pretty good shooting from 3-point range. Decent enough from the field. Probably 43.5, so just a couple of 4 or 5 ticks under that 44%. But still 24 years of age, going to be 25 at the start of next season. So kind of fits that Orlando Magic timeline, as I mentioned earlier. So we could potentially see them taking a swing to try to go get Coby White. Does this kind of move make this Orlando Magic team all that much better? I do still question that a little bit, but I do think he's obviously better than Cole Anthony. Do we want to mortgage that much? Obviously, this trade had Torrey Craig. Maybe we could take a little bit more from the Chicago Bulls in a trade, and obviously also try to give up a little bit more for this. There was another trade that was suggested by a fan. I saw this, and it was Vučević and White for Cole, Harris, Jet, and some picks. The money also works here, and could you potentially get Nikola Vučević? I don't think that this would be enough to get that, because I think Vuč could potentially go to a lot of other teams in the NBA that might want a big man of his caliber. But that would be pretty awesome to have Vuč as the replacement for Mo Wagner off the bench this year. I mean, obviously that was a huge loss. White can start and move Suggs to shooting guard potentially in this sort of scenario, or he can come off the bench as well. I think when you give up Cole Anthony, you're going to want him to do one of those things. Now we got KCP, so does that change anything as far as where KCP is? Definitely a different perspective than it was at the very beginning of this season, because I think going into it, we thought KCP was going to be that bona fide starter, that guy who's going to provide some extra scoring, some defense in that starting lineup. I don't really know if that's going to be his role at the end of the season, especially if we make a move for another guard, or even if we give up Cole Anthony. I think he'll stay ahead of Anthony Black, but you could, if you insert Coby White, potentially move him to the bench. So that could be something that's really interesting. Vuč is only on the books for one more year after this, so that could be a positive for this Orlando Magic team to try to stay flexible as far as the cap situation goes. And then could they send Wendell Carter Jr. into the shadow realm in next offseason for the Magic, and just kind of rebuild and retool? Gives them a lot of flexibility to do so, even if they bring Vuč in. Now, I don't think that this sort of trade is going to happen, but I think it's fun to think about, because obviously welcoming Vuč back into the fold for the Magic is something that we've talked about, we've floated around for a long time now as far as Magic fans are concerned. Essentially about a year or two after he ended up getting traded initially in the huge fire sale that the Magic went through. I've been talking about bringing him back, and I think he would honestly have a lot of huge spark in this team. I think it'd be a lot of fun, and it would be more reliable front court scoring. In the trade videos that I have made, it's been focusing on a Cam Johnson or any sort of offensive guard. We're talking Colin Sexton, who's still available. Coby White now. Prior to that, it was De'Aaron Fox. And we're just thinking, can we get somebody in the backcourt to help and to score? Well, we also need some scoring on the front end, and maybe Vučević could potentially also be that guy. Now, it's not perfect, but it injects some offense into the Magic. It spaces the floor, can kind of give you a guy who could potentially go out there and get a bucket on any given possession. And if Jalen Suggs is really dealing with this many injuries this season, who knows how many injuries he's going to be dealing with next year or the year after that. We've known and we've seen that Jalen Suggs does tend to play hard and does end up getting hurt. Maybe because of that play style, maybe not. But he is somebody who has been out with injury, and that's something that we're obviously going to have to take into account. So maybe we need more backcourt depth that's potentially better and can shoot more than Cole Anthony or Anthony Black. Now, I will recognize the Bulls' part in this, and I would say that those two draft picks might be pretty good. Jett Howard might even be pretty decent. They might want to take a swing on him and start building some of the young player capital early. Try to take a swing on Jett Howard, a Magic team that you sent him down last year, didn't really use him all that much the year after that, and he's a lotto guy. Maybe you just take a swing. Why not, right? He's got some NBA pedigree as far as his family is concerned, and you're thinking, you know what? Maybe he's good. But that might not be enough. Truthfully, that might not be enough. They might want Anthony Black, Tristan da Silva, and I am worried that if this front office is trying to make a trade, trying to be aggressive, that two of those three guys instead of one of those three guys might be included in a trade. Maybe not for Coby White, maybe for Coby White and Vuč, or maybe in a deal that would have involved De'Aaron Fox, and maybe that's why they backed off, or in any sort of deal that may involve Cam Johnson or Colin Sexton. Although I do think two of those guys would be a lot. Some teams don't think so, and they're willing to stand pat. And if we see some of these big names flying, I understand where Magic fans are coming from, but we don't know exactly what these teams are asking for. But We'll just have to wait and see. Just the waiting game now. February 3rd. The deadline's February 6th at 3 o'clock. Hopefully the Magic get in on this because it does seem like there's a lot of teams willing to take risks. The CBA, the new CBA is maybe like a shadow or, something over or a cloud over some of the heads of the GMs and over, some of the fans too as well. So it might be changing the landscape of the trade deadline to make it even more valuable. Who knows? Time will only tell. But we'll have to see if the Orlando Magic get involved. I really do hope they do, just because it's clear that this team, regardless of healthy or not, has an issue as far as shooting. Now, I did want to talk about the Warriors really quick before I get out of here. Out is Jalen Suggs. Jet Howard is sick right now. Maybe that means he could potentially, if he's listed as an illness, maybe he's not sick, and maybe they're thinking about trading him. I have no idea. But it seems like he's sick right now. He was a late addition to that. And this team hopefully can get a win against the Golden State Warriors tonight, who are now out of the Jimmy Butler sweepstakes. So they're going to be really looking for a win and trying to get some of a spark on their own end too. So hopefully this is a game that the Orlando Magic win, get back on track. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think about the trade. Hopefully you guys subscribe to the channel. Been doing great on views. Got to do some, better numbers on the subscription. So if you stuck around for this video, make sure to stick with the channel. Subscribe. But that's all the time I have for you guys today. I will see you guys next time with some more Orlando Magic basketball content.